because I came in as a staff,
Yeah, okay, so
right? I was the assistant director for residential, then I became the director of the day program, and the chronology of how things happened is, again, it's me taking an opportunity, then making things better, better, better.
Okay.
And then when the time came, when the CEO retired, because they took a risk to open a health center in Fairport here, and in a year they had to close it down. That was a huge investment, huge. There was like $2.5 million borrowed from the bank to start up that business. So in a year, no revenues, all expenses, closed down, you had to pay it all back. So I take that on, had to pay off the debt. We had losses running in so I looked at the P&L for all of the businesses. They were all struggling. And I looked at the director of the state locally, his name is Cy Zielinski, and I said, Cy, there's something fundamentally wrong at CDS. Why is it that we're delivering all these services to the most vulnerable people, most needy people in our community, and we're losing money? We're a nonprofit. That doesn't mean we need to lose money. That doesn't mean, it means we are a nonprofit delivering a mission. And something is wrong, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And soon I did, which was that some of the people that we were serving had more needs. And so we had to staff up more. So when you aggregate that among the whole population, you're talking at the Unistel program, $500,000. You're talking about the residential program, another $500,000. So here we were booking these losses, but carrying the organization on lines of credit. I said, that's not going to happen anymore. And I presented to him, for CDS to get out of this crisis, we need your partnership. And I have to tell you, there's going to be 45 people at Unistel, our work program, that will get laid off in 30 days if you don't find another funding mechanism to help that program. I'm just letting you know. And like Providence intervened, I don't know what happened. He said, write it up. We wrote it up, all of the cases and the costs associated, submitted it to him in 2 weeks. We got the approval, we quadrupled the funding. That was just one example of all the things we needed to do. When the bank decided to move us out, they saw all the debt, they saw no ability for CDS to pay back. And they sat with me and our CFO. And by the way, nobody wanted to be CFO at CDS. I finally got this man who had worked for the county as a director of finance. I had no choice but to take him on. And he and I sat with the bank officer, and he said, we don't want your relationship anymore. We have to work you out. And they have a special group. It's called a special assets group. And I promised him, I said, that's fine, but you still have to be with us through this process, right? Because we're not going anywhere. No other bank will take us anyway. And he sat with us and he looked at the results. My upbringing was that you needed to make ends meet. If you have so much cash, then you spend just that cash. You don't spend more than you have. And I made those changes at CDS, was to look at our expenses, cut back on those expenses as much as we could to make ends meet, to make everything balance, the revenues and the expenses balance. That was my first task. Get that done. Once we got that done, diversifying and growing as that came, that would just make things better. But that was the immediate concern. And in 6 months, we were able to show the bank that we had turned it around, that we had actually settled the P&L where our expenses and our revenues matched up. And for a $16 million budget on a monthly basis to run a $50,000 profit was a really nice thing from where we came. But that set the stage for the growth and diversification, getting the funders in the system to recognize that we wanted to be a partner, but we were not going to be a victim anymore. We were going to stand up for ourselves, and we're going to tell you what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, because we determine our future. And so these were the things that we needed to put in place.